I never thought I'd be the person standing up at a formal family dinner, flipping a table, and walking out on the man I was supposed to marry. But when someone targets your innocent child, a switch flips inside you that you can't turn off. Just last night, my fiancé's mother looked my 7-year-old daughter dead in the eyes in front of 12 people and told her, "Put that down. This dinner is only for our actual family's kids." The room went dead silent. My daughter's eyes welled up with tears, and my fiancé just sat there, staring at his plate like a coward. Was I wrong for what I did next, or would you have burned that entire house to the ground just like I did? To really understand how we got to this nightmare of a dinner, I need to take you back 3 years to when I met Mark. I was a single mom raising my daughter, Lily. Lily's biological father walked out before she was even born, so it's always just been the two of us against the world. When Mark came into our lives, he seemed like the answer to every prayer I'd ever had. He was patient, kind, and most importantly, he seemed to adore Lily. He'd color with her, play tag in the park, and reassured me constantly that he wanted to be a real father figure to her. After 2 years of dating, Mark proposed on a beautiful weekend getaway, and when we got back, he gave Lily a little silver locket, asking her if it was okay if he became her stepdad. We were both crying tears of joy, thinking we were finally getting our happy ending. But while Mark was a dream, his family was a completely different story. Mark comes from a very old money, traditional, and incredibly snobbish background, spearheaded by his mother, Eleanor. From the very first moment Mark introduced me to her, I could feel the icy disapproval radiating off her. She didn't like that I came from a working-class background. She didn't like that I worked full-time in digital marketing instead of doing charity galas. And above all else, she absolutely despised the fact that I had a child from a previous relationship. To Eleanor, Lily was a stain on Mark's perfect pedigree. During our first few family gatherings, Eleanor's hostility was passive-aggressive. She would make snide comments about Lily's manners, or casually ask if Lily's biological father's family had a history of behavioral issues whenever Lily acted like a normal, energetic toddler. Mark always told me to just ignore her, saying his mom was just old-fashioned and set in her ways, and that she would warm up to us eventually. I tried to believe him because I loved him, and I didn't want to create drama before we were even married. Things started getting significantly worse about a year ago when Mark's sister, Sarah, and his brother, David, both had children around the same time. Sarah had a little boy named Leo, and David had a girl named Mia. Suddenly, Eleanor became the ultimate doting grandmother, but only for the blood relatives. She started hosting these elaborate Sunday lunches and family birthday parties where the contrast in treatment was glaring. Leo and Mia would be showered with expensive toys, designer clothes, and endless affection from Eleanor. Meanwhile, Lily would receive either nothing at all or a cheap, afterthought gift from a dollar store wrapped in plain paper. I remember at Christmas, Eleanor handed Leo a motorized minicar and Mia a massive heirloom rocking horse, then turned to Lily and handed her a single pack of generic coloring markers. Lily, being the sweet, polite girl she is, just smiled and said thank you, but my heart broke into a million pieces. When I confronted Mark about it that night, he defended his mother again, saying that Eleanor was just more bonded with the Bobbies because they were biological, and that Lily would get her turn as she grew older. I told him it was hurtful and toxic, but he begged me not to make a scene and ruin the holiday spirit. I let it slide, which is a mistake I will regret for the rest of my life. Fast forward to last night. Eleanor was hosting a massive, formal celebration dinner at her estate to celebrate her 60th birthday. The entire extended family was invited, uncles, aunts, cousins, everyone. Mark told me it was incredibly important for us to be there, and to look our best because Eleanor was planning to make a big announcement about her estate planning and the family trust. I spent weeks finding the perfect dress for Lily, wanting her to feel confident and beautiful, and we both arrived hopping for a peaceful, happy night. The estate was decorated beautifully, with a long mahogany table set for 14 people, glistening with fine china, silver utensils, and crystal glasses. When we arrived, Eleanor gave me her usual cold nod and barely acknowledged Lily, who waved politely and said, "Happy birthday, Grandma Eleanor." Eleanor just sniffed and walked away to greet Sarah's son. I tried to shake off the bad vibes and sat down at the table. Lily was seated next to me, and Mark was on my other side. As dinner began, the caterers brought out the first course, followed by a massive multi-course feast. For the children, the caterers had prepared special, kid-friendly gourmet sliders, artisan mac and cheese, and specialized dessert platters with customized cookies. When the kids' platters were placed on the table, Lily, who hadn't eaten much all day in anticipation of the party, reached out her hand to take one of the small sliders from the tray in front of her. Before her fingers could even touch the plate, Alina stood up from the head of the table. The entire room went quiet. She cleared her throat, pointed a manicured finger directly at my 7-year-old daughter, and said in a loud, echoing voice, "Put that down, Lily. This dinner is only for our actual family's kids. I didn't pay for extra catering for outsiders." The words cut through the room like a knife. I felt the blood completely drain from my face. Lily instantly pulled her hand back as if she had been burned, her lip trembling as she looked up at me with huge, tear-filled eyes, totally confused and deeply humiliated. The entire extended family just sat there. Nobody said a word. Nobody defended my little girl. I looked over at Mark, expecting him to explode, to defend his future stepdaughter, to say something, anything. Instead, Mark looked down at his lap, shuffling his fork around, completely silent. He wouldn't even look me in the eye. Alina just stood there with a smug, self-satisfied smirk on her face, waiting for me to accept the humiliation. So that is the exact situation I was standing in, and I had to make a choice that would change the entire trajectory of my life. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause right now and comment below what you would have done if you were in my shoes. Would you have stayed quiet to avoid a scene, or would you have reacted? I looked at my daughter's tear-streaked face, and something fundamental broke inside of me. All the months of biting my tongue, all the passive-aggressive comments, all the times Mark told me to just keep the peace, it all rushed to the surface in a wave of pure, unadulterated rage. I didn't just stand up. I slammed my hands down on that pristine mahogany table so hard that the crystal wine glasses rattled and shattered against each other. I looked directly at Alina and shouted, "How dare you? How dare you speak to a 7-year-old child like that? You are a cruel, miserable, disgusting excuse for a human being." Alina's eyes went wide, and she gasped, clutching her pearls in textbook dramatic fashion. Sarah and David started shouting at me to calm down, but I was completely done being polite. I turned to Mark, who was finally looking up, pale as a ghost, whispering, "Please, honey, let's just go outside and talk about this." I looked at the man I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with, the man who promised to protect my daughter, and I felt absolute disgust. I reached down, grabbed my custom-made engagement ring off my finger, and threw it as hard as I could right into Mark's face. It bounced off his forehead and landed in his soup bowl with a loud splash. I told him, "We are done. You are a coward, and you don't deserve to be anywhere near my daughter." But I wasn't finished. I grabbed the edge of the massive catered kids' platter filled with the sliders and mac and cheese, and with one giant heave, I flipped the entire tray right onto Alina's pristine white designer dress. Sauce, cheese, and grease splattered all over her and across the expensive dining table. She shrieked like a banshee, jumping backward as the family erupted into absolute chaos. I didn't wait around to see the rest. I grabbed Lily's hand, picked up her coat, and walked out of that mansion, slamming the heavy front doors behind us. When we got to the car, Lily was crying, asking me if she did something wrong. I pulled her into the tightest hug, crying myself, and told her that she was absolutely perfect, that she did nothing wrong, and that those people were just mean and didn't deserve to have us in their lives. We drove straight to a drive-thru, got her favorite chicken nuggets and ice cream, and spent the night watching her favorite movies in bed, cementing the fact that it will always be the two of us against the world. The aftermath since last night has been an absolute whirlwind. My phone has been blowing up nonstop. Mark has sent me over 50 text messages and called me a dozen times, begging for forgiveness, saying he was frozen in shock and didn't know how to handle his mother in the moment. He claims he loves us, that he wants to go to couples counseling, and that he will force his mother to apologize. But as far as I'm concerned, an apology won't fix a broken spine, and he showed me exactly who he is when it counted the most. Sarah and David have also been texting me, calling me unhinged, dramatic, and a gold digger who ruined their mother's milestone birthday. They're threatening to take legal action for property damage over the flipped food and stained dress, but honestly, let them try. I have already blocked all of them on every single platform. I am currently packing up the rest of Mark's things from my apartment and leaving them on the porch for his friends to pick up. It hurts terribly to lose the future I thought I had, but the relief of protecting my daughter from that toxic environment outweighs the grief completely. Lily is my #1 priority, and I will never let anyone make her feel less than, especially not under the guise of family. Looking back on this whole mess, I realized that the red flags were there from the very beginning, and I just chose to ignore them because I wanted a complete family so badly. I learned the hard way that a real partner will protect your children as if they are their own, no matter who they have to stand up to. Like this video if you think I did the right thing by flipping that table and leaving Mark, and make sure to subscribe for more dramatic real-life stories just like this one. Share your final thoughts on this entire crazy situation in the comments section below. Did I go too far, or did Alina get exactly what she deserved? Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all in the next story.